Hi, I'm Kelly from freefindingmom.com. Welcome. If you're joining me from YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and be sure to click subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're watching from Facebook, if you will, give this a like. I would appreciate it. So today I want to get started talking about a topic that we've had quite a few questions about here on Facebook Live this week, and it pertains to money and finances, money and marriage. So basically the discussion has been, it seems like from reader questions about largely from women asking to get engaged in the finances with their husbands, but their husbands sometimes maybe not wanting to engage them in the process. So I want to go ahead and start. If you're joining me, if you will, please in the comments leave where you are viewing from and any finance questions you have. Before I get started, I should probably mention that my background is in investments. I was an investment analyst for a number of years. So my passion is really finances and helping people manage their money. So if you will, please go ahead and leave any money questions you have in the comments. And these questions can pertain to investing or budgeting. It can be how to save money at the grocery store. Whatever's on your mind pertaining to finances, please leave them in the comments. I will either answer them in this video, in a future video, or at the very least, I will respond to your comment. So like I said, I wanted to follow up with a few reader questions we had this week pertaining to women wanting to get engaged in the finance process. So one question I want to chat about, and feel free during this discussion to go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments as well. And if you're watching this on replay, please still leave your comments, any questions you have, because I still come back each day and see if there's any new comments that I can address in future videos. So the first question, like I said, came from Tracy, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and she was saying that she felt really guilty because she doesn't bring in any income. Now, I have to tell you, I have this discussion with my really good friend, I feel like almost weekly. She is pretty much one of the best moms there is. She stays at home raising little humans. That's what I told her job is, because she always says, I don't have a job, I don't make money. And I'm like, you have the most important job because you are raising good people. So so Tracy's question was really a statement that she just feels really guilty. And how do I get over this guilt of not bringing any income in to the family? So what she got good responses back from you guys. So thank you guys on Facebook and your comments. Like for instance, Barbara mentioned that you really do contribute, Tracy. In fact, if you really factored in how much childcare would cost, that is, consider that your salary, because you don't have to pay for childcare. You don't have to pay for a nanny. You don't have to pay to go to daycare because you are that provider. And then Emily brought up a good point about sit down with your husband. Like it's one thing if you feel guilty because you're not bringing in any money, but it's another if like your spouse is making you feel that way. So maybe just get involved in the budgeting process was Emily's suggestion, and work together and give yourself a budget on something. If you want, whatever you want to buy, give yourself a little fun money if you have that ability in your finances. So then you don't feel like you're kind of spending the family's money, but yet money that you have earned because you are providing a service for the family. So thank you, Tracy, for your questions. And Barbara and Emily, thank you guys for responding to Tracy's question. Next, we had a question from Tori, and she was saying how she, so basically she wants to put their finances together. She's married, they have a child now. She wants to do joint accounts, and her husband doesn't want to. He wants to keep them separate. And so Heather brought up the point that, I actually love Heather's suggestion, actually. And my husband and I did something similar to Heather's suggestion the first year or so we were married. So what Heather's saying is have a joint account for like your bills and your groceries and that sort of thing. But for you can still keep your personal accounts after those essentials have been paid for. And then the extra money that you guys have, keep in your personal account, and you guys can do what you want with that money. So, I love that suggestion. Like I said, we did that early on and it seemed to work fine for us. But when we got to the point we were going to buy a house and then have a child, then we decided to commingle everything. And then Veronica mentioned that you may want to consider family counseling, basically alluding to the fact it could be a bigger issue, the fact that he doesn't want to engage you in the finances. That could foreshadow something that could also be a bigger problem later on. So maybe consider going to family counseling if that's an option for you. At the very least, if you don't go to a counselor, open up the dialogue. Like I feel like, and I'll share in some of the articles that I pulled today is, money can be a very taboo topic, especially if money is not going well. Like if your finances are not doing very well, it can be a topic that is kind of difficult to bring up for people. So don't hesitate to bring up and to have that discussion with your spouse, but just be prepared that you have to really be willing to listen to what he or she has to say. So it may not be exactly as positive as what you would like. And then Crystal brought up the question that she feels very left out in the decision-making process, that she wants to be more engaged in like budgeting and that sort of thing, but her husband just wants to handle it all himself. I also have friends who are in this situation, and I always tell them, you need to make sure you are involved. And I will tell you that, and I will also tell Crystal the same thing, is that, and Barbara mentioned, a really great point too, which is you have to insist to be involved in the finances, because if for nothing else, it's a protection for you and your family, because, God forbid something happens to your husband and, you're left wondering, what accounts do I have? Where are our debts? Where are our assets? You won't even know where to begin. So you can maybe try to appeal to him that way. If he's, for whatever reason, he doesn't want to engage you, whether it's because he thinks you wouldn't, add any value, or you wouldn't understand, or whatever. The reason is you need to make sure that you insist upon being engaged in this process and appeal to him and say, you know what, you care about this family too, and you, as do I, and I want to make sure that if God forbid something happens to you, we are fine. I can manage it. I know where everything is. So try to appeal to him from that perspective. And Kayla just, mentioned that it could just be a big red flag. It could be a bigger problem that you really should approach now, because it could become a much larger issue down the road. Like I said, if you're joining us, please leave where you are viewing from in the comments and any money questions you have. And then Veronica also kind of echoed Barbara's sentiments, which is, you at least have to have some level of financial information on where your family is, like where your certain accounts are, where your debts are, that sort of thing, because it's really a protection against the family. And that's it. And you should be working it together as a partnership and not just feeling as though, oh, he handles everything, I don't need to be all that involved. You do. Like, that is one thing I will say, is your involvement can differ depending upon your interest level, but you need to make sure you are somewhat involved in the financial process in your family in some way. I want to share a really interesting study that I found on debt.com, but it was a study by Fidelity. And what they were saying, Fidelity says that women, this is a recent study too, this is from 2017. So Fidelity said that women not only are better at saving, but also better at investing their money. So let that sink in. Like, I know if you're a man watching this, like, I'm not man bashing, but like, I have to give it to my girls. Like, we are better not only at saving, which is contrary to what some people might think, that we're just spenders. We are better not only at saving, but at investing. But the reason I quote this is not just for that statistic. It's unfortunate because it says less than 10% of women believe they are better, though, at money management. So that's a confidence thing. That's not, from an actionability standpoint, we are better at saving and at managing our money. But unfortunately, we just lack the confidence in knowing that we're doing a really awesome job. So that's my goal in life, is to make sure that I give you the tools to not only make those smart decisions financially, but have confidence that you're doing an awesome job. Okay. So also in this Fidelity study, they said, for instance, women save about 9% of their annual salary. Men only save about 8.6% of their salary. And they said that women, in their investment rate has actually, they've got a better rate of return basically, and than men have. But again, they said evidence shows that they don't believe they are smarter than men when it comes to the same money topics. So I would like to hear why that is. Like, if you, please leave any comments, questions, please leave those, because I would love to find out why you feel that you're not doing as good of a job as what a man can do. I would love to hear the insights on that one, because clearly evidence shows that you are doing an incredible job managing your money and investing too. In fact, this article stated, how much was it? Over 3 years, and women investing has grown by 19%, which is incredible. So not only are we saving more, we're getting somewhat more confident enough to at least put our money into the stock market, which is great. But unfortunately, I guess we still have some level of nervousness about our abilities. And then I found this chart. Basically what it shows is women not only save more as a percentage of their base salary, which is, we know there's still a wage gap, which is unfortunate for women, but they save more of their money and they have a better rate of return on their money. So what this chart basically shows, I'm sure you can't see all the details, but what it basically shows is the sooner you start investing, which makes sense, right? The sooner you start investing, the better. And because you're going to have, compounding of interest, and your rate of return will compound. So essentially you should obviously make more money the earlier you start. But not only that, women are saving more, which is great. And we're better at investing because we are diversifying more than men. Men have a tendency, according to this study, have a tendency to take more risks than women, meaning they're putting a lot of their money into equities only, which is not a good idea. You need to obviously have a diversified portfolio no matter how old you are, what your status is. So that's why we are also having a higher rate of return. But and one more thing I want to mention about this article is it was saying that most Americans, although not women are not the only ones who feel like they aren't doing a good job when it comes to their finances, because they say most Americans actually feel that they aren't financially literate. So they feel like they don't have the tools to make the right money decisions, because a lot of them, it says, they feel they put a lot of they put a lot of the blame on their parents because they weren't taught that growing up. And they also say they weren't taught it in school, which another thing that drives me completely bonkers is the fact that we don't have financial literacy, financial education classes. In fact, I think my mom said this when I was in high school. She made the comment that, I can't believe you guys don't even have like a class that teaches you how to balance a checkbook, or at least some general information on how credit cards work and, how you can get into debt. That is something I know some states are making improvements with that. And unfortunately, they say, there isn't one state in the nation that has an A in financial literacy. So that means obviously there's a gap that we need to teach our young people early on how to manage their money so that they aren't left, trying to get out of debt and, basically figure out what they're doing with their finances after the fact, after they've gotten into debt, after they have had all sort of financial issues. So, bottom line is women feel insecure about their finances and managing their finances, but they're doing a better job. Interesting, but also women and men both feel that they aren't financially literate as well as they should be. So that, like I say, falls back, I think, on the schools and apparently on the parents as well, is what a lot of people feel. I'd love to hear your thoughts too. I mean, when did you start learning about finances? Did you learn after the fact? I feel like a lot of people learn about finances when they are trying to fix this problem. Like they're trying to learn about budgeting after they've already gotten into a lot of debt, or you know what I mean? Like, rather than be proactive, I think a lot of us are reactive to our situation. So I would love to hear what kind of has motivated you to learn how to handle your finances better. Is it after the fact, or were you being proactive about it? And then I did find another article where they were talking about women and who makes the financial shots in your family. And it's no surprise. They say 73% of women say they make a lot of the buying decisions, like buying of clothes and shoes and household items and that sort of stuff. And they also suggest that even most households say they work on a bit, but they say when it comes to larger purchases that a lot of times they can be collaborative. So I'd like to know, how do you guys find or figure out if you're going to make a large purchase? Do you just make it yourself? Do you talk to your spouse about it? How is that determined? Do you guys budget for it so then you already know it's coming down the pipeline that, we're going to buy that, piece of furniture or whatever because we already been budgeting for it? So I'd love to hear kind of how you guys come to your, I guess, decision-making process when it comes to finances. I'll share a little about our situation if it's helpful. So basically in our family, for instance, because my background's in finance and I love money management and that sort of thing, and my husband has pretty much no interest in finances or money management. It's a good thing he married me, at least for that respect. What we usually do is I pretty much do all the budgeting and the managing of the finances, and then I'll fill him in on what I did, or I'll say, or what I'm going to do. I mean, like for instance, I'm going to buy a stock or something, or say, I'm going to say, I think we need to contribute to our son's college fund. I'll say, we haven't made our contribution for Ian's college fund. What do you think? And he'll be like, yeah, that's fine, or whatever. Usually his response is, okay, that's fine, like whatever you think. So he pretty much in one ear out the other. He doesn't want to have to focus on it for more than a few seconds. But I don't necessarily think that's the best approach. I really wish he was more engaged in our financial process, but it's just not of interest to him. The one thing that he does do is I have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that I update with our finances, and then he will update with some things that are like in his name. And so he at least sees kind of what accounts we have and where it is and that sort of thing, which I think is, like I say, is so important. Going back to the reader questions we had earlier is, having at least some general knowledge of where your finances are, where your assets are, where your debts are, is so imperative because, like I said, God forbid something happens to your spouse and you're left trying to figure out where everything is. And like, here's the situation. I don't know if my mom will mind if I share this or not, but she was saying that, sorry, Mom, if you mind, but you probably won't. But she was saying that when my parents were married, that she actually managed our finances, despite the fact that my dad is an accountant. So let that sink in. So she had the ability to manage the finances, which I thought was awesome. I did not know that. This was actually recent information she told me like a week or so ago. So she managed the finances. But one thing that she found when they were going through the divorce process, I think, is that they actually held some stocks. So that is not the time to find out that you have other assets. So this is the point, is that you need to bring up the topic. And I've read a few other articles. I didn't want to share all the stats with you, but I read a few other articles where the experts were saying it's a difficult topic, but you really just need to be blunt about it and approach your spouse like, hey, I care about this family. I want to be engaged in the process. I want to make sure that we're making the right decisions together. And I don't doubt that you are, but I just want to be a part of that process. And you have the right to be a part of that process. So especially the fact that, you know, women are doing such an awesome job managing their finances anyways. And men, I'm sure, are too. But, and so this, again, this isn't anything against men, but I just feel like I want us to have confidence when it comes to managing our finances and know that you should have the right and do have the right to be engaged in that process. So, the other thing that I want to say is that I feel like women, I was reading this in an article too, don't necessarily feel like they can bring the topic up to their husband. A lot of them, if they feel like they don't bring in an income, it's kind of like it's his money. I shouldn't really ask the question. That is, again, I think it's a complete myth. I think you absolutely still need to be very engaged in the process. You need to make sure that you're still, you know, asking your husband and just appealing to him, like I say, from a perspective of, I care about the family. I want to make sure we're doing the best we can do for our family. So that was one thing I wanted to chat about. Like I wanted to address, because we had so many reader questions this week about finances and women feeling like they didn't make money and they weren't contributing, but they were being left in the dark. So my advice is please, please, please just be blunt about it, but obviously, you know, sensitive, and say, you know what, I think you're doing a fine job. I appreciate what you're doing. Please engage me in that process though, because I care. And frankly, I want to protect the family. If something happens to you, I want to be involved in that too. So thank you to everybody who responds to all our reader questions, because it helps everybody, you know, whether or not it was your question. I think a lot of people benefit when they read these questions. The other thing I want to mention today on freebiefindingmom.com is be sure to head over there. If you are a Kroger shopper, an affiliate shopper, be sure to download today's freebie, and which I think was vitamin water, I believe. I updated that about 2 o'clock this morning. So I was half awake when I did it, but I'm pretty sure that was vitamin water. And then I also wanted to let you know that on my YouTube channel on Freebie Finding Mom, hi again, if you're welcome, if you're watching from YouTube, be sure to check out my latest budgeting video. I take you step by step through how to fill out one of my free printable budgeting worksheets. It's a great worksheet just to kind of get started, especially if you're not really into budgeting. Do me a favor, if you will, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm putting out a lot more financial content, because I'm getting more questions from you guys telling me that that's what you want help with, and which is great, because I feel, I've told you this before, I feel like it's truly my passion in life to help you with your finances and reach your financial goals. And I just want you to feel like if you're in a situation financially that you don't want to be in, you're not happy with where you are, there is hope. You can get out of it, and it'll take work. But whatever it is, whether it's credit card debt or whether it's just, you know, struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, know that that's why I'm here. Ask me your questions. You know, I will always say this. This is a no judgment zone when it comes to really anything, but especially with finances, because I get it. Like we all, and one day I'll probably share more about my situation, but we all get put into situations in life that we didn't necessarily think we were going to be in. And so sometimes that impacts our finances. And so that means sometimes we're in the financial situation we didn't necessarily think we would ever be in either. So don't take, I guess, rather than be depressed or rather than beat yourself up about it, because I've had friends who've done that too. Don't do that, because at the end of the day, it's not doing you any good. Reach out for help, get a plan, and work on it, and you will get out of it. And I assure you it's possible. No matter how bad it may seem, it is possible to get out of it. And sorry, I had a phone call there. And then, so please just be confident that that there is help, and that's why I'm here. I firmly believe that's my passion in life. There's no judgment. If you don't feel comfortable asking a question on the blog or asking a question on my Facebook page, send me a direct message. You know, send me an email. If you want me to change your name, which some people have wanted me to do too, that's fine too. I kid you not. I do these videos because I want you to feel like you have a resource. I worked in financial services, primarily with high net worth individuals, and so they had the ability to ask lots of people, experts, all these questions. But you may not, or you may not feel confident doing so. Do it here in a very informal setting where I am happy to give you any inputs I can to help you. So that was kind of a little bit about like what we had this week when it regards to finances and marriage. And then, like I said, my new budgeting video is up on YouTube. I finished taping a credit video last week, which will be up this week on YouTube. Really good video about how to fix your credit score and kind of some of the negative things that can show up on a credit score and on a credit report. I'm sorry, on a credit report, and what you can do to, like I said, get yourself on the right path and starting to improve, increasing your credit. So that credit report video should be out this week once I finish editing. So like I said, I don't want to take up a lot of your time. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Leave any questions you have in the comments. I will be sure to address those either at least in the comment or in a future video. And ask any money questions. Listen, this is a no judgment zone. Any question you have, I'm happy to help you. Again, have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks. Sorry.